the midpoint formula. Okay, the objective for this video lecture is we want to use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of the midpoint of a line segment. Okay, let's, as usual, when we have the opportunity, let's start out with what we already know. Okay, we know the following. We know that when we're given two numbers, the number that is in the middle, halfway between them, is found by taking their average. Okay, so take the average of those two numbers. For example, what number is in the middle between the numbers 12 and 48? Okay, well, we'll take the average of 12 and 48, which means we're going to add 12 and 48 and divide it by 2. 12 plus 48 is 60, and 60 divided by 2 is 30. So 30 is the number that's between 12 and 48. You'll notice that 30 minus 12 is 18, and 48 minus 30 is also 18. So 30 is right in the middle. Okay, so we're going to use that for midpoint. All right, the midpoint formula works the exact same way, only we need to take the average of two pairs of numbers, the x coordinates and the y coordinates. Okay, so here's our midpoint formula. The midpoint, the x and y coordinates of the midpoint, is equal to the average of the two x coordinates, comma, the average of the two y coordinates. Okay, so the x coordinate of the midpoint is the average of the two x coordinates. The y coordinate of the midpoint is the average of the two y coordinates. Okay, let's look at an example. I'll turn it over and have a bit more space. Come up a little bit, there we go. Find the midpoint of a line segment from point 1, which is located at -5, 5, to point 2, which is located at 3, 1. I'm going to draw a picture just to see it. Okay, let's see here. I'm in the first quadrant and the second quadrant, so all I really need is to draw my axes kind of like this. This is my x-axis and my y-axis. Okay, so I'll count by 1. So that's a 2, that's a 4, and that's a 6, and this will do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That should cover me there, and I'll go -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'll erase this. Looks a little sloppy. Just a basic diagram to help you see what I'm talking about. Okay, the point 1, P1 is -5, 5, so -5 on the x-axis. +5 on the y-axis is approximately here. So this is P1, okay, which equals -5, 5 in quadrant 2. A quick reminder, quadrant 1 is the positive quadrant, and then we go around counterclockwise. So quadrant 1, quadrant 2, the x is negative, the y is still positive. Quadrant 3, both x and y coordinates are negative. And then quadrant 4, the x coordinates are positive, the y coordinates are negative. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So point 1 is at -5, 5. Point 2 is at 3, 1. So I'll go over 3 on the x, and I'll go up 1 on the y. It's approximately here. That's point 2, which is equal to the coordinate 3, 1. Okay, and here's my line segment. I'll draw this as straight as I can. And my guess is the midpoint is somewhere in this area. I think it's probably just inside, just to the left of the y-axis in quadrant 2. Let's find out. So the midpoint, okay, is equal to is x and y. And it's equal to, we're going to add up our two x coordinates and divide them by 2 to get the x coordinate for the midpoint. And then we're going to add up the two y-coordinate endpoints, the two y-coordinates of the endpoints, divide those by 2 to get the y-coordinate of the midpoint. Okay, let's see here. Our x-coordinates are 3 and -5. It doesn't matter which you choose as 1 and which you choose as 2, because this is labeled P1. I'll make this one x1. So -5 is the x-coordinate for P1. 3 is the x-coordinate for P2. Divide that by 2. Okay, our y1 is the y-coordinate for P1, which is 5. Our y2 is the y-coordinate for P2, which is 1. Okay, so I have that. And I can do the math here. -5 plus 3 is -2. -2 divided by 2. 5 plus 1 is 6 divided by 2. And it turns out the midpoint, well, this is going to be -1. -2 divided by 2 is -1, comma 3. Okay, and so we can come up to here, and I was pretty good. The midpoint is right here. M equals -1, comma 3. The middle of this line segment's coordinates are -1, comma 3. So that's how you find the midpoint of a line segment.